You tell yourself you're lost, that you don't know what you're doing with your life, that you're confused, that you're still figuring things out. But what if that's not true? What if you're not lost at all? What if you already know exactly who you are, what you want, and what you should do? And the real problem is that you're terrified to face it, because being lost is strangely comforting. It gives you an excuse to delay, to hide, to avoid responsibility for the life you're not living. If you're lost, then it's okay that you haven't started. If you're confused, then it's okay that you haven't changed. If you don't know, then you can't be blamed. But deep down, there's something quietly whispering inside you. A direction, a truth, a version of yourself you keep trying not to see. Think about it. There have been moments, brief, almost accidental, where everything felt clear. A moment where you knew what you wanted, where something inside you said, "This is it." But what did you do right after? You questioned it. You doubted it. You distracted yourself. You told yourself it's unrealistic, impractical, too risky. And just like that, clarity turned back into confusion. This is not an accident. This is psychological. Your mind isn't just trying to find the truth, it's trying to protect you from it, because truth has consequences. Friedrich Nietzsche once said that we often lie to ourselves not because we don't know the truth, but because we're afraid of what the truth demands from us. And that's exactly what's happening here, because knowing what you want means you have to act. And acting means you can fail. You can be judged. You can lose comfort. You can lose people. You can lose the version of yourself that feels safe but unfulfilled. So instead, you stay in limbo, not moving forward, not fully stepping back, just existing in a state of almost starting, almost changing, almost becoming. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You are not stuck because life is unclear. You are stuck because clarity is expensive. Plato described something similar in his allegory of the cave. People chained in darkness, watching shadows, believing those shadows are reality. When one person breaks free and sees the light, it's overwhelming, painful, disorienting. And when they return to tell others the truth, they're rejected, because the truth threatens everything familiar. Now ask yourself, what if your confusion is your cave? What if you keep yourself lost because finding yourself would force you to leave everything? Because clarity is not peaceful. Clarity is disruptive. It breaks routines. It challenges relationships. It demands courage. And most of all, it removes your ability to pretend. There's a reason you keep scrolling, keep watching, keep consuming. It's not just entertainment. It's escape. Because silence is dangerous. In silence, you hear yourself. And when you hear yourself clearly enough, you can't unhear it. Dietrich Bonhoeffer once wrote about how people can become passive participants in their own limitations, not because they are weak, but because they slowly accept a version of life that requires less courage. They adapt, they settle, they convince themselves this is enough, and over time, they forget there was ever more. But you haven't forgotten. That's why you feel restless. That's why something feels off, even when everything seems fine on the surface. That's why you feel like you're wasting time, even when you're busy, because deep down, you know, and knowing is a burden, because once you know, you have two choices: face it, or spend your life running from it. Let's be honest, running is easier. You can distract yourself for years, Build routines that keep you comfortable. Surround yourself with noise. Convince yourself you're making progress. But every now and then, usually at night, it catches up to you, that feeling, that quiet voice, that question. Is this really the life I want? And the longer you ignore it, the louder it becomes, not in words, but in discomfort, in dissatisfaction, in a strange emptiness you can't explain. Niccolo Machiavelli understood something most people don't want to admit. Avoiding difficult truths doesn't protect you. It weakens you. Because life doesn't reward comfort. It rewards adaptation. And if you keep avoiding the truth, you become fragile, dependent on things staying predictable, terrified of change. But here's the twist no one tells you. You're not afraid of failing. You're afraid of succeeding and becoming someone unfamiliar, because success, real success, is transformation. It changes your identity, your habits, your relationships, your expectations. And suddenly you're no longer the person you've always been. And that's terrifying, because even if your current life is limiting, at least it's known. So you stay where you are, not because you can't leave, but because leaving means becoming, and becoming feels like losing yourself. But what if that's the illusion? What if you're not losing yourself, but finally meeting yourself? Think about a sculptor. When they create a statue, they don't add more and more material. They remove what doesn't belong. They chip away at the excess until the true form is revealed. Maybe that's what this process is. Not becoming someone new, but removing everything that isn't truly you. The fear, the expectations, the borrowed identities, the roles you've been playing, and what remains is something real, something honest, something you've been avoiding. So the next time you say, I feel lost, pause and ask yourself a different question. What am I avoiding? Because maybe you're not lost. Maybe you're standing right at the edge of clarity, looking at the life you know you could live and choosing not to step into it. And that choice is costing you more than you think. Time, energy, potential. A version of yourself that will never exist if you keep waiting. So here's the final thought. Not comforting, not easy, but true. You don't need more time to figure things out. You need more courage to face what you already know. Because the person you're meant to become is not waiting somewhere in the future. They're waiting on the other side of a decision you're afraid to make. And the moment you stop calling yourself lost might be the moment you realize you've been found all along.